So that shiny new game just came out, Harold Halibut, and you want to know if it's worth your time, right? Well, let's take a look at the game for some first impressions. Keep in mind this is not a full review, this is a quick look at the game. I played the game for a little over 2 hours, so I'll show some footage of the game while describing it and giving a few thoughts on it. This game has a highly unique aesthetic to it. It's a handcrafted game, meaning most of the scenes are made models, and the game uses stop motion like movement as well. Very cool stuff here. Also, it's fully voice acted, which is nice to see. You play as Harold Halibut, who is basically a handyman and does tasks for most people. The game begins with the Major waking you up. He seems like the security in the game. He takes you to the fine secretary because apparently Harold was tubing without the proper credit on his tube card. So he sits in the office and waits for the professor to show up, which is who he ultimately works for. Harold is a little odd. He's pretty monotone and doesn't show much emotion or enjoyment. On top of that, he seems a little slow sometimes and people seem to pick on him or blame him a lot. The professor is sort of like a mother to him though. She's fairly nice to him. So back to tubing. That's how they get around the place. You see, back on Earth, the Cold War was at its height, and Earth was on the brink of annihilation. So a bunch of wealthy countries and families and private institutions created a spaceship. It journeyed for 200 years in space, was home to 5 generations until it reached its destination. However, the target planet was uninhabitable, and then the ship crashed into the waters of the planet. That's where they are now, on an alien planet in alien waters, still in the spaceship that crashed. So a lot of the beginning of the game, I just did various tasks for people and looked around the place. I'll not bore you with the small details of the various things that I did, but the main story seems to be about Earth itself. They haven't had contact with Earth in a very long time, and then they decided to build a radio buoy, which happens to intercept the first message from Earth in a very long time. It basically says, yeah, everything on Earth is fine, actually. Maybe we'll hear back from you guys. So the entire trip in space was pretty pointless, apparently. The professor is studying a rock from the planet that they're on, and has deduced that there's a 2-year window in which there won't be any solar flares, and that 2-year window ends in, I think she said 80 or 90 days. That could be the window for them to potentially leave the planet and head back to Earth. And then towards the end of my playthrough, right before I got off the game, alarms were going off. One of Harold's jobs includes fixing the filtration system. So when he went this time, there was a creature, an alien fish-like creature. He brought it back up to the lab and to the professor. The creature was still alive, but either asleep or in a coma. I'm unsure. I got off the game after that, but I think this game actually has a fairly interesting story here. The best part of this game, by far, is the sheer amount of time it must have taken to actually make this game. There was a lot of hard work put into this game, and the game is very well made. I think this is a unique and interesting game, though that's my personal opinion. Whether or not this is your type of game, I'll see you on the next one.